When it comes to the name Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog, many longtime Sonic fans might recognize it as a peculiar and rather charming nugget of trivia from the franchise's long and ever-evolving history. But where does this unusual full name come from? What does it mean for the character? And why is there so much debate about whether it should be considered part of Sonic's official lore? To answer these questions, it's important to look back at Sonic's history, the unique paths his story took in different regions and media, and how these shaped perceptions of the blue blur we know today. Let's start at the beginning. Sonic the Hedgehog first sprinted onto the scene in 1991 as the star of Sega's new flagship video game series. Designed to be cool, energetic, and immediately identifiable, Sonic was simply Sonic the Hedgehog, no middle or first name required. The games focused on fast-paced platforming, colorful worlds, and the eternal conflict between Sonic and the villainous Dr. Robotnik, later more widely known as Dr. Eggman. In these early days, backstory was kept minimal. Sonic was a hero, a free spirit, and a friend to animals. His appeal lay in his attitude and speed, rather than in a detailed family tree or personal history. However, as Sonic's popularity exploded, Sega partnered with various companies to adapt the character for different audiences, especially in the West. This led to the creation of new continuities and interpretations, each adding their own twist to the mythos. One of the most significant of these was the Archie comics series, which began in 1993 and ran for over 2 decades, becoming the longest-running video game-based comic in history. The Archie Sonic comics were notable for their ambitious world-building. While the games were content to leave Sonic's personal history mysterious, the comics introduced a richly developed setting called Mobius, a cast of original characters like Princess Sally Acorn and the Freedom Fighters, and deeper explorations of Sonic's family and origins. It was within this continuity, specifically in issue number 53 published in 1998, that Sonic's full name was first revealed: Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog. This revelation was played for humor in the comics, with Sonic expressing embarrassment at his formal name. An old-fashioned and slightly awkward moniker that stood in stark contrast to his cool, rebellious image. The first name, Ogilvy, is of Scottish origin and means high place, or from the high hill. The choice was likely meant to be quirky, giving Sonic a humanizing and slightly nerdy touch. Maurice, his middle name, is of Latin origin, translating to dark-skinned or Moorish. Taken together, Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog is a mouthful, and the comics made it clear that Sonic much preferred his nickname. This detail fit perfectly with the Archie comics' approach to the Sonic universe. Creative liberties that fleshed out characters and relationships, often with a dose of humor, while giving fans a deeper sense of Sonic's life outside of his heroic exploits. In this world, Sonic's parents, Jules and Bernadette Hedgehog, were also introduced, further grounding the character in a family dynamic rarely seen in the games. But outside of the Archie comics, the idea of Sonic having such a formal name simply didn't exist. Sega's own games, which have always been considered the primary canon, continued to refer to him only as Sonic the Hedgehog. The developers intentionally kept Sonic's backstory light, focusing on universal themes of freedom, adventure, and heroism over specific personal details. Manuals, game dialogue, and even official books like the Sonic the Hedgehog Encyclopedia make no mention of Ogilvy Maurice or even his parents. To Sega, Sonic's identity is shaped by his actions and relationships, not by a formal name. Other adaptations followed a similar path. The various Sonic animated series each took their own approach to Sonic's world, but none adopted the Ogilvy Maurice name. In the 1993-1994 SATAM series, Sonic is simply Sonic, though he does have an Uncle Chuck and a strong sense of family. In Sonic Underground, 1999, his mother is Queen Alina, but again, no mention of a formal name. The Japanese-produced Sonic X cartoon and the more recent Sonic Boom series likewise stick to Sonic the Hedgehog. Even the live-action movies launched in 2020, which reimagined Sonic's origin and personality for a new generation, retain the simple Sonic moniker. This divergence between the Archie comics and the rest of the franchise raises an interesting question. Why did the comics go in such a different direction? The answer lies in the creative freedom given to Western writers during the early days of Sonic's popularity. With minimal lore provided by Sega, the writers were free to invent new stories, characters, and histories that would resonate with Western audiences. The addition of Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog added a touch of humor and a sense of depth, suggesting that Sonic, like many of us, might cringe at his formal name, but embrace the nickname that reflects his true self. For many fans who grew up with the Archie comics, Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog is a beloved part of their Sonic experience. A quirky in-joke and a reminder of the rich, sometimes bizarre tapestry of stories that have grown around the character. For others, especially those whose primary experience of Sonic is through the games, it's a curious bit of trivia at best, a non-canonical oddity. In 2017, the Archie Sonic comics came to an end, and the license passed to IDW Publishing. The new comics, while still rich in storytelling, hew much closer to the game's canon, avoiding mention of Sonic's full name or family background. The focus is squarely on Sonic as the brave, quick-witted hero, unburdened by the formalities of a birth certificate. So where does this leave Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog? In the official, Sega-sanctioned Sonic universe, it's a non-canonical detail, a relic of a specific era and interpretation. It's not referenced in modern games, comics, or films, and it's unlikely to become part of the mainstream mythos anytime soon. Yet, for fans of the Archie series, it remains a fond memory, a symbol of the creative risks and storytelling flourishes that have made Sonic's world so enduringly popular. Ultimately, the story of Ogilvy Maurice Hedgehog reflects the broader story of Sonic himself, a character shaped by many hands, interpreted in countless ways, and beloved by fans for both his core identity and the many layers of lore that have grown around him. Whether you prefer your Sonic streamlined and mysterious or quirky and deeply fleshed out, there's a place for you in the ever-expanding world of Sonic the Hedgehog.